next is Beth with herbal class. Now it's probably going to be a short class because we want to get our closing ritual in. But let's go ahead and bring Beth in. Hello, darling. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you guys doing? It's so fabulous that we're having this online.
It is. It's been a joy to have it online. Now I'm going to tell you though, there's only one problem here. I
What's
don't have your
that?
potatoes. I don't have your potatoes and sausage from last year. Nobody sent that yet.
Oh, we'll have to work on that, huh?
Yeah. All right. I'm going to let you take away on
I don't. I
herbs.
don't think. I don't think we can do virtual dinners yet. Um, no, I would. I was kind of. I'm kind of thrown for a loop here. So if I seem a little out of it, you'll all have to forgive me. I wanted to go outside and do it, but we're having some thunder and rain. And the rain wouldn't have bothered me. Might have messed up my cell phone though. So we're going to do it inside. We're going to talk a little bit about herbs and then I'm going to take questions. I'm going to need your help with that in case they're on Facebook and I'm not able to see them through the stream. But hopefully you can help me out with that a little bit later. Want to talk about our biggest ones. Right now, everybody's driving around. You're looking in the ditches and you're seeing all the pretty flowers. And you've got that beautiful 7-foot tall Joe Pye weed, also called gravel root or stone root. Fabulous thing about that stuff, that was used as a traditional medicinal for kidney stones and bladder stones, which at this point of the year, because it's so hot and everybody's outside working, they tend to get dehydrated. And when you get dehydrated, you have a really good chance of developing stones. So when this one's in bloom, you know that that's probably the best time to make sure that you're getting enough liquids into your body and everything else. My connection with herbs started when I was way little. I honestly don't have a memory where I don't remember tromping off out in the woods with family members, my aunties, my father, grandfather, grandma, everybody. So for me, that's a big part of who I am. And so what I want you to think about is making sure that you're intuitively aware of what's around you herbal wise. Everybody knows plantain. That's in your yard right now. A lot of folks can identify purslane, dandelion. Now, these same food type plants and herbs are also really great magical type herbs because the intention is what is around you to use. You'll read in spell books and you'll read in like say Cunningham books. Cunningham was really great. He was really easily accessible, but you'll see in other books where they'll be like, oh, well, you need XYZ herb and you need to find this. And if you don't have this ingredient for your working, it's not gonna, your spell's not gonna work. That's not how herbology works. And that's not how pagan herb works. The way that works for us is that we have things around us that we notice that goddess brings us as messages or our spirits point things out to us. You know, I had an incident earlier this year. I was out harvesting one plant and I ran across a whole mess of devil's shoestring. Well, devil's shoestring is not a real common one to find. It's actually a parasitic plant. It grows on other plants. This one happened to be growing on bee balm, and the tangled strings of it are really good for weaving and working and tying things together and binding things off. So it's one of those things we want to make sure that when that presents to us, that we're looking into it and making sure that we see what we're doing and how it's coming into our lives and why it's coming into our lives at that time. I'm really sorry. I'm having a hard time with trying to keep everything straight here because I'm normally, sorry if that messes up. I'm normally out in the woods doing stuff. So any questions from anybody in regards to herb?
Well, I just wanted to
And
kind
Tom.
of share, and I'll kind of prompt you. Um, what is your thoughts on like we should be using the herbs that are naturally around us,
Mm-hmm.
and how we should be dealing with just being very closed in or comfortable with them, and then how can we natural? Like, I see a lot of people wanting to use like wild, you know, hemlock and that type of thing, and it gets into a problem.
Well, here's the thing. Is there a particular reason why you would choose that herb? And I'm kind of getting what you're coming at is maybe white sage and some Palo Santo.
Mm-hmm. Well,
okay,
and
so
not like that, but adapting to what we have to use.
Exactly. That's the thing. Okay, so white sage doesn't grow in this area of the country. And unless you have, in my opinion, again, everything's subject to your own opinion and what works for you. In my opinion, if you live in an area of the country where that plant doesn't grow naturally or it's not easily cultivated and you can't cultivate it, then you really should probably evaluate why you want that particular plant and see what else is around that you could use instead. We have abundant mullein that grows beautifully and burns wonderfully as far as visionary measures. Also, as far as looking at herbal acquaintances and herbal companions, you could use a mullein blend with, say, some. We also have a lot of native mugwort that works, so you could use a little bit of mugwort in there. You can use a little bit of mullein, and you can make a really wonderful smudge blend with that and still do the same type of practice without worrying about cultural appropriation or whether or not it's really appropriate for you.
And not only that, but something a lot of people don't realize, you can smudge with tobacco.
Yep,
That's
absolutely.
Across the globe.
And you can buy seeds. There's lots of places you can buy tobacco seeds and grow your own for ritual use and any other, or smoking or whatever purposes you want. And honestly, in this area, you'd start at about the same time in your house as you would start your tomato seeds.
Right. Now let's kind of talk about like tomatoes and stuff like that, because we don't have nightshade here.
Yes, we do.
We do. Okay. Because I was told we didn't have nightshade here. But if you don't have like nightshade or some other sandalwood and this type of thing.
Well, sandalwood is native to Hawaii. We don't have sandalwood here, so what could we use? What else would smell really good that's sandalwood that we could replace? How about cedar?
Yeah.
We've got beautiful cedar tree or spruce. Or we live in Appalachia. Do you know what? We have native that a lot of folks don't have. We have witch hazel.
Yeah. We do.
And we also have native hawthorn. And we have all these wonderful medicinals. We have this huge list of native plants that you can look into and say, okay, well, what does grow in my area? As far as the nightshades grow, there's over 120 nightshades, not counting potatoes, peppers, or tomatoes. We have over 20 of them that grow in this area alone.
Right.
So we have lots of them. We have lots.
Great thing, but sandalwood is also in danger. Dragon blood is also in danger. Balsam is also in danger. A lot of people are jumping into Palo Santo because it's kind of like the new wave coming through the pagan community. 10 years ago, you would have asked me what Palo Santo was, and I was looking at the name of a cigar.
Exactly, and that's what really happens as people come into the craft. And we look into other cultures and we learn more about other cultures. We have other things. And the craft itself and witchcraft and herbology is very adaptive. We'll grab whatever's there that seems to work and adapt it for our personal use. And that's good to an extent, but then we also have to look at those kind of things where a lot of reasons why Palo Santo is the sacred wood that it is because of the traditions that they had in use of it. It's different than any other specific cultural used plant matter. So yeah, what do we have here? What can we use? You know, we have, one of the things I like to think about is people talk about dragon's blood resin. That's great. Dragon's blood resin is beautiful. It smells amazing. Do you know we have, that's native to our area though, we have pine.
Mm-hmm.
Fresh harvested pine resin has the exact same energy signature. If you hold it in your hand, that dried imported dragon's blood, which by the way is not always a pure product either. It can be adulterated. And
throw this warning out there: if you are a new witch and you are a new person and you are wild harvesting, be sure to know what you're harvesting. This is not an area for intent.
No, and there's that. I do a lot of herb walks. I do free herb walks. I do weekend intensives, and a lot of that is not necessarily just within the medicinal stuff, which is what most people know me for, is for the medicinal herbs, but I do both. And it's really important for you in general to understand what you're looking for and what your intention is with that plant. And then you can find a corresponding plant that'll work for you, that's also local, the native, that's sustainable, or that you can personally harvest. Because let's face it, we all know if I put my energies into something, it's going to work better for me than something that I simply was able to accumulate in a different method.
Right. And let's add in there, when you are wild harvesting, take what you need.
Well, what I always teach people, and every time I do a class, we always talk about this. Okay, so if I go out and I see one plant, I can't harvest it. All I can do is take a photo of it and appreciate it while it's there. If I see two, I shouldn't harvest it. If I see three, I can harvest one, but only this year and not next year. And if I see four, then I know I can safely harvest one. If I leave 75% of the plant material behind and I only take 25% for my use, then I know that what I'm doing is sustainable.
Right. And that's what our ancestors have done. We hear all this talk about ancestor worship and all this stuff. There wasn't a lovely spell like earth magic that you could go to and go, I need bergamot, cells of Egypt, I need some salt from India, and my let's throw in some devil's strain, which, by the way, if you use vanilla as a substitute, let's throw that in there.
Exactly.
A powerful spell that's in the third page of a book that nobody has read for 200 years.
Right, or that's some obscure some obscure thing that I found on a group serve online that I don't even know anybody in the group, and I don't know anybody who does anything with them, and I really don't know the origins of them. This spell is called this, and it says I can do this if I use this. So it really is a matter of developing a relationship with plants, a relationship with your planet, and relationship with seasons. I see it very much as an integrated part of becoming stronger within your own faith by recognizing that seasons and what time of year you harvest and when you don't, and when you should use things and when you shouldn't.
And can we settle an argument since you are an herbalist? Sage is sage. Salt is salt.
Sage is sage is sage is sage. Now, let's also remember that there's hundreds of varieties of sage. And if what you have is what you have in your kitchen cabinet, and that's all you have, then guess what you should be using? In my opinion, you use what you have.
Or you grow it. It's a lovely thing to grow. You do have to container it because it's like catnip and will take over. But it's nothing to grow. The only thing with it is when you grow it, you have to use it or it will die.
Yep. And that's with any of it. I like to, and the way I was raised, I was always taught to use what's real close to us. Here in West Virginia, we have several different natural salt mines here, and not just the big one that everybody knows about, but there's several other salt caves and salt mines in West Virginia that we can go and harvest salt from. And yes, okay, coal has a very checkered past in West Virginia and in the Appalachian region, but one of the best things about it is that it's here and it's local, and all of the energies, if we look scientifically back at how old this is and how long it's lasted, it's a great ingredient to use for things.
Exactly, especially if you're needing a fuel. If you want something to move.
So what we were talking about earlier about replacing that dragon's blood with something local, then we can use a little bit of coal powder, and we can use a little bit of that sap from that pine tree, and we can roll those up together, and we can make into something that's going to really blast it out and be even more effective than anything you could even possibly imagine.
Exactly. So tell us about what you do for those that haven't seen you.
Okay, well, I am a trained herbalist. I've been certified herbalist for over 20 years, and so I do a lot of herbal medicine. And what you're hearing from me now is more of my personal conviction and less of business. So I don't necessarily bring the business back into it, even though the business has a flavor of the earth magic in it. I do blackberry botanicals. I do medicines, teas, spices, herbs. We have a farm down here in Summers County. We have over 115 acres of our own, and we also lease 1,600 acres. And we commercially grow many of the native medicinals that you guys would encounter in, well, just about every herb shop you'll ever go to. And I sell to some of the bigger suppliers.
And how big of an operation is that? And you talked about wars and wars. What are you doing with that? Because I know you had a shop open or something going on there for a bit.
Well, what I do is we grow. Mountain Rose Herbs is one of the largest suppliers for the herbal community, and we grow on contract for them. And yep, and we are one of the, well, we up until you'll have to look into my personal story because I can't get into it because I'm on a gagger from the courts. You could look up my personal story, but up until an incident a couple years ago, we were one of their largest certified organic suppliers in the state of West Virginia. And I'm not anymore. So
well, you're still running, and you're still running things, and you're still there.
Yes, we are. We still do the intensives. We are still hoping to do the drum making weekend intensive again come spring, weather dependent again. We also have to, depends on our deer harvest this year. So the drum making retreat we will be doing hopefully again, which is a blast. Last year we ended up kind of zeroing out on that one, but we're hoping as long as we can keep this virus under control and everybody wears their masks, we'll be able to do that.
And if someone wants to contact you for an herb, they can, right? We don't have to get.
Yep, they can get through us through Facebook, or we're working on reestablishing the website.
Awesome.
blackberrybotanicals.com or .com.
All right. Well, you help with that. Holler at us. We have Mystic PC, and we'll be happy to help you with that. And thank you so much for your talk and your clients and making sure to advertise out what you're doing so we can get it out there too.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Have a great day.
Thank you. Such blessings.